Hi. So I'd like to talk a little with you about the Ayurveda perspective on digestion and elimination and why it's important to really understand your Ayurveda type and how that impacts the way your digestion and your metabolism in general works so that you can understand what you need, the choices that are best for you to make for optimum digestion and elimination. This is important because in Ayurveda, as Hippocrates said, we believe that all disease, like the first symptoms of disease, begin in the gut, and that likewise good health comes from good digestion. So the seat of our well-being is in choosing the right foods that our body type can assimilate and break down for optimum tissue health and then all around general health and at the right time of year. So here we have it. Let's go straight into it. Dosha type and what we call Agni. So Agni translates as fire. Often it's translated as digestive fire, but in truth, the digestive fire is just one of the fires. If you think about what fire does, it transforms one substance into another, just as the digestion transforms the foods into materials that can be, it breaks them down, right, into foods that can be assimilated, absorbed, and utilized by the tissues. And therefore, we do have Agnis in all the various tissues of the body to further aid that absorption, that assimilation, and the metabolism in general. And if you're not sure of your Ayurveda type, don't worry, you could try our quiz. I'm going to put the link to the quiz underneath the video. But also, maybe you've done the quiz and you're still not sure. It can still leave question marks in the beginning. It can take some time to really uncover your Ayurveda type. But one thing that really points towards it is the nature of our digestion. So if you don't know your type, don't worry. What we talk about over the next few minutes might actually give you some clues, point you towards a greater understanding of, okay, what this is probably my type. So we have Vata dosha, so this Vata humor, for want of a better word, of Ayurveda, which is this dominated by this blend of the air and ether elements, even though each dosha has all 5 elements. There are 2 that are dominant here, ether and air. And the nature of the Agni, let's use this word, so the digestive processing and capacity for a Vata dominant type of person is irregular. So this is something to bear in mind in your eating choices and your eating habits. So regularity is one of the things we always recommend for Vata dosha. Well, for all of us, but in particular for Vata dosha, they will really feel it if they're not so regular in their meals. And then we have Pitta with a strong fire element, which creates therefore a fast and a hot and strong digestive capacity. So here, because Pitta is already hot, it will mean that Pitta has to be careful about adding more hot. But we're going to look at this in a moment, what that means. And Kapha. So Kapha is this mix of the earth and water elements, they're dominant, which if you, think about playing with earth and water as children, making clay, making form, it's sticky, right? It's heavy. And so that gives a kind of, that heaviness brings with it difficulty in moving. So Kapha is slow. Okay, that's an inherent nature of, therefore, the Kapha type of Agni. It's not weak, it's just slower. So that might mean if you eat something like, say, beetroot or sweet corn, and we do these tests, nutritionists do the tests where you observe the stool and how long it takes for the red of the beetroot or the husks of the corn to pass out with the stool. With Kapha, that passing is likely to be particularly slow, slower than the other types. So it's like this. Okay. All right. So because the Agni is, and it's the way it functions is so linked in and influenced by the dosha type, the dominant doshas of the person, then key to keeping the Agni balanced is very much, in part, we'll look at some more things later, but very much going to be keeping your dosha balanced. And to keep the doshas balanced, this is a very generalized pointers. Lifestyle appropriate to your dosha, your dominant dosha, adapted for the season and its dominant dosha, and your stage of life and its dominant dosha. So also our stages of life have a dominant dosha. So in our more active years, maybe as young adults and in middle age, we're pitta dominant in our stage of life because we're out and about, we're active in the world, we're productive, we're raising a family, we've got careers perhaps. And so this is the pitta stage. We need more fire to be able to produce and make things happen. And then in the vata stage of life, which would be in the later years, maybe 60 plus, then we would make choices in our diet and our lifestyle appropriate, keeping that stage of life in mind and the qualities of vata in mind, because the symptoms are likely to arise anyway, which will point to it. But I'm going off track a little bit. So diet, kind of mentioned it there, diet appropriate to dosha, also bearing in mind season and stage of life. And we want to bear in mind also that diet includes more than what we take in as food and drink. It includes through our mouths, and so it includes what we expose all the sense organs to and our mind to. And I think many of us have heard of this term, like there being a second brain in the gut and all these nerve endings there and the impact of stress on the gut and its function. So likewise, when the senses are overstimulated or disturbed by what we're exposing them to, then this can also affect the doshas, affect the functioning of the Agni. So let's have a little look more specifically about this relationship of dosha and Agni and their impact on the digestive capacity and the tendencies when the dosha is maybe a little bit elevated or the lifestyle and diet are a little bit off balance for that dosha type. So it's an irregular Agni, digestive capacity for vata. Agni creates appetite. So this means vata is likely to have an irregular appetite, and that means vata can forget to eat. But the thing is, they're really the type that mustn't forget to eat because they need that earthiness of food, right, to combat that, to antidote the air and the spaciness of the ether. And so when they don't eat, they can get very shaky, feel a little bit nervous, not really in the body even perhaps. And even though we have prescribed and favored food types for vata, actually any food when vata feels like this will start to pacify that elevated dosha. So with the air nature of vata, gas and bloating can be common symptoms. When there's too much air, too much vata, that's really creating too much challenge for the Agni to function. Fatigue, perhaps after eating. And then we come to elimination, the nature of elimination. So when vata is high, then vata stool can be hard and dry. And if you're new to this concept of doshas and then becoming higher or balanced, then the sort of things that can put the vata up are a lifestyle. So vata has movement, so a busy lifestyle where there's too much movement and too much stress. Anything in the environment or the foods that has the attributes, the qualities of vata. So a cold environment, a cold season, a dry season. These are qualities of vata because they're qualities of air. So likewise, cold and dry foods, this kind of thing, light foods like puffed cereals. And more. There's much more to it, but that's just to give you an idea. So if our lifestyle and our diet are creating more of the qualities of vata, then the stool will also have more of those qualities. It will become dry, and in being dry, it will be hard and difficult to pass. And it might also mean that it's hard to, it doesn't really maintain a form. We say a healthy stool is soft like banana, okay? One long piece. I know it's not a topic we like to go to, but it's the best education, or one of the best educations for the state of our body and digestion, is to inspect and understand what the stool is telling us. And so we always ask it in consultation. And so because it might be so hard that it's not forming in one piece, it can come out in these little rabbit pellet-like stools. So if you see that, you know your vata is high. Constipation because of the hardness and the difficulty to pass. And this irregularity, this irregular nature of vata, can also affect the elimination. That can be in terms of not passing regularly through the day, passing stool regularly through the day. So ideally we want to be having an elimination twice daily. Maybe some days you do, then you go for a few days with no elimination. It can be like this. Or there can be an irregularity in terms of the nature of the stool, like an IBS type like irregularity, where maybe there's a constipation sometimes, alternating with other times with loose stools. So these are the kinds of qualities, symptoms of an aggravated vata type of agni, and a vata agni which is out of balance and which needs some kind of redress in terms of our lifestyle and dietary choices, so that the digestion can function well, so that we get that health that comes from good digestion, proper assimilation of foods, breakdown of foods, and good elimination. So not building up toxicity because of poor elimination. This is really key. So twice a day we want to be going. Let's move on. Pitta. Fire. So Agni gives that appetite. So Pitta has a lot of fire, so they have a strong appetite. They really need to eat 3 times a day, okay? And it means that if Pitta doesn't eat, there can be an irritability, because of the fire going up. The fire can't burn the food, so it starts to burn in other ways. And also then when this fire becomes too high, so when the pitta is too high, it can impact the nature of what's going on in the gut and with the agni. And so then there's that tendency with this type towards inflammatory conditions in the gut, burning sensations, hyperacidity, ulcers. And because of the fire and the hot and fast nature of this agni, this digestive capacity, it can give a tendency to loose stool. So the stool moves, the whole process moves so quickly that the stool doesn't have time to form properly in the colon. A pitta type stool may be pale brown or even yellow or green and will have a strong smell. So if that's happening, then that's your education. That's your indicator that I need to get some guidance to help me take care of the pitta in my body. Why this is so important, we've already said it's the seat of good health when the digestion's well. And we're going to look in a moment about the disease process. So how this can be like the precursor to more disease. These are not symptoms, like things going wrong with the nature of the stool is not something to ignore. Kapha, that earth water mix. Kapha, often because of the slow nature of the metabolism, it can mean that in the morning, kapha is still processing the food from the night before, so there's no hunger there. But we've all been told that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Ayurveda would question that, because we want to eat when the agni is up, when the hunger is there. When the hunger is there, we know that agni is there. So if there's no hunger in the morning, kapha really is best not to force breakfast down. And when you tell kapha that, it's usually kapha types, it's usually a relief to them. So, and then maybe 3 hours, 2-3 hours after waking, hunger might arise. You can just eat really lightly, like a piece of stewed fruit with a little warming spice like cinnamon or clove to just kindle that slow agni. Kapha often feel heavy and bloated after eating, or they might get nausea after eating because of this slowness, to metabolize. So heavy and bloated because of the slowness, and maybe nausea again because of the slowness, and maybe congestion or toxicity building up. Because of the slowness of the appetite, of the metabolism, the agni, Kapha can skip meals easily without really experiencing any adverse symptoms different to the other two. But we do recommend for all the 3 types regular meals. So 3 meals for Vata and Pitta, 2 meals, maybe a very light breakfast for Kapha, and for all, main meal at lunchtime. But Kapha could eat more lightly in the evening and feel okay. So Kapha, earth and element, that's about bulk and form. So when the Kapha is dominant, there can be a lot of stool, copious amounts of stool. And because of this sticky nature of earth and water, when you mix them, that congestive nature of those 2 elements mixed together, sticky gives congestion. The stool can have those qualities as well. So it can be large, it can be heavy. That's the nature of clay. It's heavy, so that's the nature of Kapha. Oily is another attribute of Kapha. So the stool can also be a little bit oily. And sometimes there'll be constipation, but it will have this sticky nature to it, not the hard, dry nature that Vata has. And the elimination can be sluggish because of Kapha. So you need herbs, lifestyle, yoga practices to quicken it, and diet to not aggravate this slowness, but antidote it. There can also be, because of the congested nature of Kapha, there can also be mucus in the stool. Okay, so as I said, we'd look at why it's important to take care of balancing the agni and the digestion and elimination, noticing the stool, so that we notice when the doshas are starting to become high and accumulate and become aggravated. Because this accumulation, this aggravation in Ayurveda are the first 2 stages of disease. And if it goes on, then the dosha kind of spills over from what we call its seat, so its place in the gut, which for Vata is the colon, for Pitta is the small intestine area, where the breakdown and absorption, fire is transformational. It transforms one substance into another. So fire, Pitta, dominant here. Kapha here, where the stomach is adding water, liquids, dimension of Kapha, to try to support the breakdown of the foods, to prepare for the breakdown of foods in the next stage. And then Vata in the colon at drying quality to build form for the stool. So if the dosha becomes really aggravated, it's going to spill over from its seat, maybe into other parts of the gut and start to create more symptoms, or even into other tissues and parts of the body. So it can start with us just feeling like under par, those niggling minor symptoms which no practitioner or regular doctor anyway might be able to pinpoint a root cause for, though an Ayurveda practitioner would be able to, but you just don't feel right. So here we really need to start paying attention, excuse me, and go back to balancing dosha, lifestyle, diet. And even at this stage, get a little assistance from a practitioner. Maybe some herbs, some body treatments will also help. And if things go on as they are, and we don't take any action to redress the balance, then we're into the stage of localization. So this toxicity generated by impaired agni function, impaired digestive capacity, along with the elevated dosha, are likely to start to block particular channels of the body and sit in certain tissues of the body, usually the tissues of the body dominated by that dosha that's in excess. And then that body system becomes the body system function becomes disrupted, okay? then we're really not feeling well, really getting more symptoms. If that goes on, then manifestation, we're into the stage of full-blown disease. And then if we don't take care, before we know it, you know, the whole body is spreading out and the whole body is malfunctioning. So it's much easier to take care and redress the balance with simple knowledge about your dosha, what supports it, what aggravates it, your Agni type. And then when you notice from your stool or your digestive symptoms that things are not quite working well, then you can take the necessary steps. And if already you're into the other stages, then call for some professional assistance. When you do get professional assistance, it's likely to go like this. So a practitioner will assess your dosha imbalance, which doshas are in excess, are aggravated, and in what way, and in which tissues they're moving in, you know, which tissues they've moved into to create symptoms. And the Agni, how that's malfunctioning. The Agni type will identify, and then if it's functioning well or malfunctioning, and what's also triggering the imbalance and the malfunction in the dosha and the Agni. So here we're going to assess lifestyle, diet, your mind and your emotional state, you know, what's happening in the bigger picture of your life, because that's really important. And to also assess, to also aid us in the assessment, physical diagnosis, so observation perhaps of the skin, the nails, and also the tongue and the pulse. They tell us a lot. And then once we've done the investigations, of course we take your history as well. So we listen, we don't just assess, we listen in depth to how you got to where you are right now, taking in all dimensions, all aspects of your life. Then we'll treat with lifestyle advice and diet for your symptoms, for your doshas, herbs, and body treatments. The body treatments are powerful therapeutic treatments. They're not just like an adjunct to help us feel well. They really help to balance the doshas, clear excess dosha, and what we call ama, toxicity that's accumulated with them. Sound as a mantra, vibration, to work with the doshas, and particularly to pacify the mind and any impacts there. Specific yoga practices for your type and your symptoms, and really key, particularly when we're into after the stage 2 disease. From stage 3, we maybe are looking at deep cleansing, and in the season, this times of seasonal transition, and particularly spring and autumn, so the seasons between summer and winter, you know, when things are really turning from long nights and short days, or short days and long nights. This is a time to really get excess dosha out of your body, and it's a good chance to clear toxicity, and with that pacify the doshas and really boost the Agni function. So seasonal deep cleansing is really revered as almost essential really for our longevity and sustained good health in Ayurveda. So with me, you can take it further in this way. I'll put links underneath the video. You can book a one-to-one Ayurveda consultation if you'd like to first of all have a preliminary 15-minute chat, see how and if Ayurveda might be relevant to what's happening for you right now. There'll be links below for that. And then you have an idea now of the process of a consultation, what's involved in the assessment and the treatment. And also these dates are wrong actually for the digestive reset. It's going to be the 12th to the 15th. So is that right? 10th to the 12th, I'm sorry, 10th to the 12th. So the following weekend. And digestive reset, you'll be given recipes for Ayurveda foods. I'll give you herbal formulas and teas. We'll do online live stream yoga practices to support the digestive system and the doshas of this season. This will reset your Agni functions, so really boost your health, boost your immunity for the winter months ahead, and also boost your all-around sense of well-being, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally as well. You can also join me for such a program residentially in a beautiful place in the Cotswolds from January the 12th to the 15th. And this 3-day program could be, if you wish, the first part of my 10-day rejuvenation program. And we can continue the work together after the program. If you're local or if you'd like to come and stay locally, we can do daily therapeutic body treatments to really move the dosha and the toxins from the body. It's a beautiful process, very, very balancing, very powerful in its shift and its the impact that it makes on all levels of our being. So I really recommend that you just have a look at the page on the Ayurveda Rejuvenation Programs and Retreats, which will be posted below. And then finally, if you're really kind of intrigued and would like to move more deeply into Ayurveda, if you're working with people, I believe whatever your line of work with people, understanding Ayurveda is really going to add power to your skill set. So if you're a yoga teacher, if you're a practitioner of some sort, or just for your own personal interests, then I have this Ayurveda Living course starting in January next year. And it's accredited with Yoga Alliance professionals and with complementary medical associations. So you can get continuing professional development units through taking this course. So please get in touch. Thank you for watching this far. And I hope it's inspired you to really pay attention to what's going on with your digestion and your elimination. And to have a think about what that's pointing to and what steps you may need to take to support things within. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.